Hey guys, welcome to episode 6 of season 2 of the Fitness Experiment podcast. Jesse and I have a special episode for you today because we're here with another guest. So you guys don't have to keep listening to Jesse and I blabber on with marbles in our mouth. So today we're sitting here with Deon Keller. So Deon is a high school teacher, but also what I would call a high-level strength and conditioning coach. So he teaches grade 12 exercise science. I've lectured for his classes a couple times. He always has an awesome setup with his classes, teaches amazing lessons. That's more in actually part 2 of this episode. So today is part 1. So this is a long one. We talked for well over 2 hours. And to be honest, we didn't even talk about everything that we wanted to include. So today we're going to focus on, Deon talks about his recent blood work that he had done. We'll talk about some inflammatory markers that he looked at. We looked at some hormones and a few other markers. We then talk about what his typical diet has been as of late, how this might influence his blood work. And then we talk a lot about kind of just his daily habits when it comes to nutrition, diet, supplements, that type of thing. Because as I said, I would call him like a high-level strength and conditioning coach. So he coaches athletes during the season and off season, but he also trains at a high level himself. Don't quote me on this, I believe he's 36 years old, and I always joke that you'll hear me mention it in this one, that his body fat percentage is usually his age with a decimal point in between, so about 3.6. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. I think you're really, really going to dig it. So like I said, this is part 1. We have another part 2 coming. Part 1, more about, like I said, this lab work, fitness, diet, that type of thing. So let us know if you like this episode. As usual, please give us a review, share with others you like. Otherwise, enjoy the episode because it is a wicked one. We had an awesome time recording this one. Yeah, so let's get into that lab work then, first and foremost, I guess. So we got Deon here. So Deon just had some lab work done with his naturopath, looked at some markers of like inflammation, liver health, kidney function, the whole shebang. And we thought this would be a good kind of leeway because we were talking a little bit about kind of the vegan movie. I forgot the name, the Game Changers movie last week they talk a lot about like eating too much meat affects your inflammation. It raises inflammation, bad for your kidneys, liver, and so on and so forth. And so that's an interesting place to start because Deon, you eat a lot of meat, a lot of red meat.
Yeah.
And your markers do not support the conclusion of that movie.
Right. Yeah. So I've played around with eating more and less meat, and it's always been when I eat more meat, I feel better. So it's, maybe it doesn't work for other people, but I think a lot of people, myself included, feel better when eating meat. So we're all a little bit different. And big thing with me is I don't want to plan meals out. I just want to eat what I enjoy. And if it's working for me, then why complicate things?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
So, I'm 36 now, and I was at a course about 4 months ago where they said you should get your baseline testosterone levels tested. So as you get older, you have a baseline to go off of if you ever think about doing testosterone replacement in the future. So it's good to have a baseline, on individual baseline versus basing it off just an average based on the population.
I should tell the listeners before we get into this that Deon's body fat percentage is usually his age, but with like 1 decimal place in between the numbers. So about 3.6 right now, age 36.
I'll take that. So it was pretty cool to get all the blood work done. I went to a naturopath, Glenn Bell, and he explained a lot of the tests to me and put me through all the tests that he thought would be good markers for overall health. So it was really good to see that the markers backed up the way I was feeling. So one of the things that I was really happy about was the testosterone levels actually were high. So the reference range was 8.4 to 28.8 nanomoles per liter. And I was sitting at 30.8, which was above the reference range. Usually, a lot of people say declining testosterone after 30 years of age. So to have mine high, I was fist pumping, and my wife's a little embarrassed. Dr. Bell said I should get a shirt that says I have high testosterone. I said, that's a great idea. So that was cool to see.
Is that the first time you got it measured?
Yeah, first time ever. Yeah. So it was interesting, but it was, like.
I'm always blown away that that's not like almost like standard of care. Like measure this, say like once you hit the age of 30 or even younger, and then just monitor it over time, because we know how important that is for particularly men's health, especially brain health later on in life. And like you said at the start, like if you can have a marker right now, maybe you don't feel very good, whether that be cognitively or something else, like 15, 20 years down the road, you get another test and everything else looks okay, but your test is down, and say, oh, okay, well, something's changed there. And then now I know what to actually look into.
Yeah.
Like it just seems so kind of common sensual, but we don't do it.
Yeah.
How difficult was it for you to get this testing done? I've asked, the reason why I'm asking, I've asked a few clients if they could go and get these tests done for themselves, and they've come back with various obstacles that they've run into. So what steps did you take to actually get this done? I know you went to the natural path, but did you go to like your family doctor first, if you have one, or what was the situation?
Yeah, so it's something, again, at a nutrition course, it'll be about 10 years ago, they said, if you want to be proactive with your health, get your red blood cell magnesium checked, erythrocyte magnesium levels, red blood cell zinc, and your vitamin D levels. So those are 3 things that you can get checked, that if they're low, that's something that you can take priority, like be accountable for, and try to get them up. So I've been eating gluten-free for about 10 years. And I had a lot of digestive issues before that. So when I went to this course, they said, if you have digestive issues, cut out gluten and see how you feel. So that was really cool. I went to this course, didn't really know much about it, and then cut out gluten for 6 weeks, and then like night and day different. Like I had more energy, slept better, better mental clarity. So then I followed, the guy's name was Charles Poliquin, the course I went to. So after that kind of was a game changer for me, I followed up on a lot of the other stuff he was saying. So with that, I got my magnesium levels checked, and they were low in the reference range. So I always had a hard time sleeping. Cutting out gluten helped a lot. But then when I started taking magnesium, my sleep actually got worse to begin with. Which I was like, what the heck? Yeah, so I looked at my notes, and I guess magnesium is needed to actually make ATP. So if your magnesium levels are so depleted that when you take it, it actually helps your body make ATP if it's extremely depleted. So I took it a bunch. Like I took maybe 4 or 5 capsules. What would that be? Maybe.
Was that like a Cinermag?
Yeah, at that time it was through his supplement line. It was,
right.
What was it called?
Like the Poliquin Group stuff.
Yeah, the Poliquin Group still makes it. So it's a very good magnesium, 4 different chelates.
So it'd be like 80 milligrams elemental per caps, eh?
Yeah, something like that. And then absorbable forms. So I took about 320, I guess.
So maybe
And then took another 3 or 4 before bed. And then all of a sudden, I had all this energy, and I remember being up all night, like writing stuff down and feeling really good. And like this magnesium, it's not making me sleep; it's giving me energy. And then when I checked my notes, it said like if you're extremely deficient, then you'll actually get more energy. So then I can't remember what I did first now, like if I took the magnesium and then did the blood work or vice versa. But then when I did get my blood work done, it was low in the reference range. And he always wants you to be at the high end of the reference range. So it's something that it's always been low magnesium, but by supplementing, I've gotten it into at least the reference range. And I think part of it was just digestive issues. Yeah. So if you're not able to digest your food, you're not getting magnesium out of it. And then, just between not digesting and not supplementing with it, it was really low. And then playing sports and teaching's pretty stressful.
Yeah,
working out stressful, just burning through the magnesium. So
yeah, that's interesting because it makes you wonder how many people out there are low in magnesium, like how much better people could feel and recover and sleep if you just bump that up.
And with something that easy, right?
I know.
And it's a lot of clients that come in and train. You just have them supplement with magnesium, and then, wow, like I feel like I'm less anxious at night.
Yeah.
I sleep better, and it's just such a simple change. So so that was a big change. I can't remember where we were going with that.
That started on the test.
But. Yeah, that was kind of like the first test that you had done.
Right. So you're saying
I was trying to find your post. Like I was looking at your post, and you're doing the topical magnesium as well.
Yes. Yeah. So the topical magnesium, the idea is it goes right in your bloodstream, and you don't have to worry about digestion. So when I'm feeling when I'm remembering to take it all and feeling really good, usually I'll take about 4 capsules of Center Mag, so that would be 320 milligrams.
Yeah.
And then another 4 before bed would be another 320 milligrams, and about 4 squirts of topical mag.
See, that's a lot. Like people kind of, not to mention they're buying the cheap supplements, but even if they're buying the cheap supplements and then they're taking like the recommended dose that those supplements say, which is compared to what you're talking about, it's probably like not even 1/10. And then they wonder or say like, hey, like supplements don't do anything. These aren't doing it. Well, no kidding. Like you gotta, and I know that it's not necessarily the average Joe is going to be aware of that, but just to kind of try and get that out to as many people as possible, like those recommended doses are usually not accurate.
Yeah.
Right.
They're below that effective dose still.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're an athlete, live a stressful life, your magnesium level is going to go through the roof, the requirements, right? So that one here, I actually got my magnesium level tested, and I've been taking a boatload, and I'm still just above the bottom of the reference range. So I'm at 1.8 nanomoles per liter, and the reference range is 1.65 to 2.52, and that's taking.
And that's
a lot of magnesium.
Erythrocyte magnesium, right?
Yes. So it's supposedly it's not perfect, but it's one of the best indicators.
Better than the other, yeah. So if anyone's listening has had their magnesium tested, more than likely it was not red blood cell magnesium. So I'd look into that one, I would suggest.
So back to Jesse's original question, was it hard to get the blood work? There was a doctor in Lucan who was very open-minded, and anything I wanted, he'd go, yeah, we can check that off. Why do you want to do that? Well, I was at a nutrition course, and he's like, okay, well, I'm not sure about it if that's, but if you want to pay for it, by all means, we'll give it a go. So that was really nice. So he would fill out the form, and then you'd pay for it because it wasn't covered under OHIP. So my wife and I have been doing vitamin D, magnesium, and zinc probably at least once a year for the last 5 years. And again, like the magnesium slowly creeping up, but you think it would go up a lot quicker with that much of a dose.
Right. Yeah.
So depending on who you talk to, I'm just trying to think. Some people recommend up to, I think it's 10 milligrams per kilogram of body weight.
Okay.
So
that's a lot.
Yeah. So for me, I'm sitting around 85 kilos. So about 850 milligrams of elemental magnesium. Yeah. So, and I'd be just over that with topical mag.
And if anyone's wondering about the elemental, it's usually below the medicinal ingredients. Like if you look at how much magnesium is usually inside that first box, medicinal ingredients, it'll say like mag glycinate or citrate or whatever, and then it'll say like 200 milligrams or something like that. You'd have to normally look in below that box. There's usually smaller writing, and then it'll say elemental, and then it will be a lower number than the number up in that box. And that elemental is the key number because that's what you're actually getting from the supplement.
Yeah, just thinking off the top of my head, I think Center Mag, is it 200 milligrams?
Oh yeah, I can't remember.
Glycinate.
It has a mix.
And magnesium malate, which are both absorbable forms. So if you take that much of a dose of less absorbable forms, basically you pull more water in your long intestine, and that makes you have to go to the washroom because you're not absorbing the magnesium, and because magnesium is going through your digestive tract, just through diffusion, pulls more water in, which gives you the poops.
Yeah.
So poor quality magnesium is actually used as a, what's it called?
A laxative.
There, laxative.
Yeah.
So you gotta get the good stuff.
Go over the, we were talking about the CRP before we started recording. That was a really interesting one. The C-reactive protein, which is, because this is a marker essentially of peripheral inflammation. So I don't know if when we talked about the game changers, they may have even used CRP as their marker, I believe, when they said that meat would increase the inflammation. You could look at like the cytokines, like IL-6 or something like that, but or the TNF-alpha. I don't think they looked at those. CRP would be the most common one, and that's what you have.
Yeah, so I know that's one of the things that people talk about with high protein diets is that inflammation increases. So CRP is a measure of inflammation, right? So if you're more inflamed, then you have higher chances of heart disease, stroke, basically everything, all disease. So based on my blood work, low risk was below 1.0 milligrams per liter. And mine is sitting at 0.27 milligrams per liter. So low risk is below 1.0, and I'm sitting at 0.27. Okay, so for saying increased protein intake leads to inflammation, my inflammation is actually quite low.
How often do you eat red meat?
So I work out in the mornings 4 times a week. So the other 3 times a week, I usually have red meat for breakfast. And then usually I'll have leftovers for lunch. So that could be chicken or it could be red meat. And then for supper, sometimes it's seafood, sometimes red meat again. So I'm eating meat 3 times a day, and usually 2 of those 3 days would be red meat. So with it is good quality meat. So I get bison from a local farm just up the road. I remember Blandbrook Farms, and a really nice couple that have been doing it for, I think since like 87. Yeah, so I didn't even realize it was there until not too long ago. And then another one of my friends out in Embro, Ryan Green, grass-fed cows start to finish.
About $6 a pound, by the way,
which is incredible.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. So
what would the bison be per pound? You know,
I think it was around $8 per pound plus processing. Okay, but still not bad. Like it's still cheaper than buying meat from the grocery store.
Yeah.
And then you buy it in bulk, and basically you're getting about as high quality meat as you can, and you're paying less than you are at the store. So like Chet was saying, that $6 or $6.50 or whatever it is a pound, that's ground beef, but it's also your strip loins, it's also your sirloins, and everything all combined.
Same price, just across the board. You pay per pound.
Yeah, so you get a quarter of or a half. We eat a ton of meat, so we get a half for us, but we go through it quite quickly. But yeah, you get everything. So you get all the good cuts, and then I'm not a great cook, and so roasts, we just get all the roast meat turned into ground beef, and then all the good cuts we get turned into steaks. I shouldn't say there's no bad cuts, but the ones that are a little fattier that are better for steaks, we make into steaks. Yeah, so you feel good, and you feel clear, and you feel like your health is going well. And then you hear stuff about, eating meat bad. You start maybe second guessing things. So it was really cool to see these lab results reinforce my beliefs. So growing up on a farm, ate a lot of meat. It was just really cool to see lab values reflect the way I was feeling.
Totally.
Yeah.
So there's another couple tests that they did here. Again, Dr. Bell went through these with me and said their importance. So AST was aspartate transaminase, and then I got a hard time with this one. The other one was gamma glutamyl transferase, and they both play a role in liver function. So both of mine on the very low end, which means that liver function is actually quite good. And my liver did get taxed quite a bit in university, and growing up in a small town in high school.
Growing up in Mitchell.
So
Look at you.
I was actually really surprised with the liver results. I thought
maybe a bit of a hormetic effect kicking in. Maybe that just
toughen them up a bit.
The piss when you're younger. And then,
But don't be trying that at home. Other thing I thought I'd talk about real quick. It was like to have high testosterone at 36. I was really excited about, but at the same time, I've never taken anything to boost it. Okay, so I think that's, if you're a bodybuilder or whatever, and that's your thing, then I'm never gonna, if that's making you happy and you're good with that decision, then I won't go down that path. But for me, that's something at this time I would never consider doing. And then the cool thing is maybe down the road, hopefully naturally you can keep it as high as possible and feel good as you can. But who knows, 60, 70, if you can have a better way of life at that time, then, it's not like you're cheating things. It's you're coming back to your own genetic levels.
Right. Yeah.
So if that maximizes the quality of your life later on in life, then, why not? Right.
Right.
So hopefully do it naturally, but don't know what things will be like in 30 or 40 years. Right.
That's right.
Hopefully still around.
It's good you're starting above the curve here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking, I don't think there's anything else really on there, but all my other blood work basically was bang on.
Right.
Yeah, and I do eat probably more meat than most people, and I have my kids eating as much meat as they can get down, just because I think it's very important for development. And if I think about evolution of human beings, I just can't get past that meat didn't play a big role in that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way that things can change that quickly, where we've evolved to not eat meat in less than a generation. So like my background is, I'm a bit of a mutt, a bit of everything. So like Norwegian, Swiss, Irish, basically a mix of everything. But a lot of the background was meat was a staple in a lot of the dishes. So to keep it simple, it makes sense that if my ancestors were eating meat, that my genes say I should be eating meat.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think we got into that a wee bit, maybe a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
I think.
In this the last one we released, because they reference Gladiators in that documentary, saying that they're mostly plant-based. But I mean, the documentary the whole time they're saying mostly plant-based, and like they're never actually explaining what plant-based was. So I'm kind of omitting the whole idea. But 100% on board with that. Like it only makes sense, right? It's not.
I'm sure the Gladiators, they weren't trying to spend a lot of money on their food.
And that's what I said. Yeah.
So unfortunately,
Yeah.
you're probably, you can't go back there, but fighting for your life too, right?
Yeah.
And
a little different.
I can't see all the gladiators sitting down and having filet mignon together, right?
Yeah, and that's pretty well what we said.
Yeah.
But I think the other good lesson there for everyone listening is that you had a very, very good point at one point there. You said that it was good to kind of get like this reassurance or this confidence that, the hard work and the healthy lifestyle is actually reflecting in the results. So I think like if anyone out there, which is a lot of people, it can be bloody confusing these days, especially when a documentary like this comes out and, sends this message or that message. And it doesn't even just have to be plant-based. It could be the other way around. Like maybe another one's going to come out in like a month or so that says, just eat meat and don't eat any vegetables. Well, then people are going to be even more confused. Exactly. So my point being is, like, try and get some baseline work like this so that like you don't have to stress about, am I doing the right thing? Do I need to do A versus B or whatever? Like, just even if it's a bit of extra work and hassle to get it done, I think it's worth it. And just try and get it.
Yeah. With your meals, like, how do you match up the meat? Like, is it a meat only meal, or are you matching it up with other things? Or
Yeah,
What's
so
your diet?
because I eat gluten free like 100% for like the last 10 years, and you know, a lot of people think, well, that must be hard, but like once you get the hang of it, it's not that hard at all. And there's a lot of new products and stuff out now. Like even 10 years ago, getting like a processed gluten free product was tough. But now, you know, you can get bread anywhere. You can get you know, gluten free cookies. You can get whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
So where was I going with that? Troy, can you go back to the question again?
Just how would you structure like a normal meal? Is it all meat, or are you mixing in vegetables and other things? What's a plate look like, I guess?
Perfect. Yeah. So sorry about that. I like to keep things simple. I think just genetically, I have a mind that's always going 100 miles an hour. And if I can make some things simple and enjoy the food and feel good about it, then I want to keep it as simple as possible. So I know a thing that works for a lot of people is trying to minimize blood sugar raises at breakfast. So having some meat and some nuts, and then you're out on the road. Meat keeps you full, nuts keep you full, fat gives you some energy, and it keeps your blood sugar normalized so that you're not hungry, not thinking about food until lunchtime, which I think works for a lot of people. For me, it didn't work too well. I tolerate carbs really well. So what would happen with me is I actually got my blood work done and had my blood sugar levels tested after meals, and I actually have low blood sugar. So my meals in the morning, if I'm not working out, is just basically I'll make a steak up and I'll have a tin of blueberries, and cool. That's my breakfast. And I love steak and I love blueberries, so or raspberries or whatever, strawberries. Ideally local. They taste better, they're more nutritious, but doesn't always work out that way. So I just keep it simple. And like a lot of people think, oh man, that's crazy to make a steak in the morning. But a cast iron frying pan, I use ghee. So ghee, I think you pronounce it that way. The proteins have been taken out of the butter. So you have butter, there's some protein in it. You heat it up, remove the protein, and then the ghee's left over. It's just the fat from the butter. And you can heat that really high without it denaturing because the protein's not there anymore. So the ghee, you put it on the cast iron frying pan, you heat it up. I usually just go like halfway on my dial. Pan gets nice and hot. The ghee doesn't evaporate. It's got a high boiling point. Smoke point, and it's really high, like 400 degrees Fahrenheit or something. So heat up the ghee, throw the steak on. You just watch the side of it. Once it gets, you see the brown, like the cooking up the outside, halfway up, you flip it. And then once it cooks up the other half, you take it off the grill, you put a lid on it, and you let it sit for 5 minutes. And then basically you have a medium rare steak that's delicious and really easy to prepare. Yeah. So I don't have steak every breakfast, like burger patties. I just get like patties that ideally be grass fed, but this have no fillers. Same thing, thaw them up the night before. You don't even have to think about it. Throw them on the cast iron pan, go get changed or go have a shower, come back, throw some pickles, sauerkraut on them, grab a handful of blueberries or a ton of blueberries, eat them down. And what I really noticed is like energy levels, clarity, everything's really good, and not think about food until lunchtime. And then basically, like some people like counting calories, like counting their macros. Basically, if I want to gain weight, I eat more carbs, and if I want to lose weight, I eat more fat, and I keep my protein high. And it's a simple way to look at it, and it just takes all the complexity out of it.
Yeah, it's awesome. So simple, and I think the cool part is that like you've created this for yourself by trial and error, and then not only reinforcing with how you feel, but you're going through like the due diligence of actually like, how's this affecting my body? Yeah. And you're seeing positive trends. So why would you change it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's so simple. Like it's easy for you to do. It's part of your routine. Yeah. And I mean, you're crushing it with the numbers, right? Like you can't argue with that stuff.
Yeah.
That's
awesome. I love that breakdown you just gave though, because kind of the number one complaint when you tell people to eat even like similar to what you just explained, or like, eat meat at breakfast or eat more whole foods or whatever it may be, I think their number one excuse is, well, I don't have time to make something like that, right? Like I only have time to pour a bowl of cereal, but you just highlighted it. Like you're a school teacher, you're getting ready for work in the morning, and cooking up a steak is as easy as anything. So I think I don't think that's a good excuse in my opinion.
Yeah. And it's just trial and error, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just, I think a big thing that happened with me is I found someone that was more knowledgeable than me that I trusted, and I just followed what they did and then tweak things to fit my personal genetics or personal environment or whatever you want to call it, that to suit at me. So
was that Poliquin for you?
Yeah. Like just like the nutrition made sense. And if you look at a lot of his posts, that's basically what he says. If you want to, control your blood sugar levels, you want to lose some weight, increase protein and fat.
Yeah.
And if you, you're pretty lean and you want to put on some muscle, then cut the fat down, keep the protein high, and eat more carbs. And it's just such a, and I think what happens is it gets so complex that people don't enjoy eating anymore. So the new Canadian food guy we talk about at school, there's a lot of things I don't agree with it, but one of the things it does touch on is that meals should be enjoyable and it should be a social setting. So you should be with family and friends. You should be enjoying the food, and you can eat healthy, have a nice little sit down with friends, and still and not have to put a lot of time into it, I guess, is the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And and I think when you start getting too crazy with trying to control everything with eating, then it just takes the enjoyment out of eating, and that's not a good thing, right?
Right, because then you're going to go to the convenience stuff because you're like, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to grab something.
Exactly.
Wherever. Yeah.
So you might nail it for a couple days, and then that day, like I nailed my macros perfectly. I set everything up perfectly. And then what happens, a lot of people, they mess up one meal. And then it's like you're saying, like just stressed out and then just fall off. And then it go back on and then falls off, go back. And for some people, like I'm not that person where everything has to be really structured. I like keeping things loose. Right. So
just people just bounce back and forth, right? It's like one bad meal completely derails the entire day,
right?
And then the week, and then the month, and then all of a sudden it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't even know what to do anymore.
Yeah.
So you go to Netflix or YouTube or whatever to try to find some sort of information or a podcast or some sort of information as to like, how do I navigate this now?
Right.
It's 10 years later. So clearly the recommendations have become more advanced probably.
Yeah.
And
more complex.
And potentially more confusing.
Right.
Depending on how confusing you're making it. The more misinformation you take in, the more confusing things get, the better information. Like if you go take courses and stuff, it gets really simple really fast.
Right.
Because it's always, no matter what course you take, it pretty much comes down to the same fundamental principles.
Yeah.
They just have their own tweaks.
Yeah.
But you've taken that and you've kind of created your own thing that works for you based on all the knowledge that you've built up.
Right.
So then it's not as stressful.
Yeah.
Because you gain confidence with that, right? You're like, I know what I need. I know what makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And with your blood work, you're getting the confidence and, the reassurance. That you're making the right choices for your body.
Right.
Which may be completely different than somebody else's, but that's where the exploration comes in. And that's fun. I don't know. I find it fun.
Yeah.
I find it fun to play around with that stuff.
For sure.
Yeah. And I'm sure you didn't get it perfect right away. Well, you said yourself, like you kind of.
Well, yeah, like I was eating gluten for 20 years, and always off, always really hard time putting on weight, low energy levels, hard time sleeping, and just kind of battled through things. And it was just again, I went to one nutrition course by Poliquin, and the first thing that they said, cut out gluten and see how you feel.
Yeah.
If you feel better, great, cut gluten out.
So
and if you don't, then don't cut it out. Try something else.
Cool.
And it's just that real simple trial and error.
Yeah.
Do it. Don't overcomplicate it.
That's the key right there is just bloody do it.
Yeah.
People, it's this, people want how's that saying go? You want your cake and eat it too, or
Yeah.
something like that. It's like, we'll kind of have a little bit. Like, I can still have some, can I? Like, can I still get benefits if I just kind of cut like half of it out? It's like, it's not going to kill you, right? Like, it's not hard. Just cut it out. See you feel.
Yeah.
If you feel better. It's just so simple, in my opinion. I don't know.
You said something quickly in there, being like, I think we have like similar builds, like, you know, harder to put on weight than to lose weight.
Oh, yeah, you guys,
yeah. So you mentioned there, like, you had a hard time gaining weight while you're on a more gluten-based diet.
Yes.
And that changed once you went gluten-free?
Yeah, it did. Not right away, but there's just so many factors.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my energy levels got way better. I was waking up, like, I have more energy now than I was a teenager. So I know some teenagers, like teenage years maybe don't have a lot of energy in the mornings, but like when you get going, you should have a lot of energy, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, you wish you could go back and do it earlier, but it's just that like it was just no one talked about it, right? And there's so many theories on why more people are having issues with gluten. Like, I'm sure they all play a little bit of a role, but like I know one of the things, it was actually a Gluten-Free for Dummies book I read after going to one of these courses, and they talked about if you have a hard time digesting lactose, so the sugar in milk, and again, I'm kind of paraphrasing the book a little bit, but the microvilli in your small intestine that actually release, there's a duct there or whatever on the microvilli that release lactase, and what they were saying was one of the theories is when you're eating gluten and you shouldn't be, there's an autoimmune response if you're celiac, and they actually blunts the microvilli. So you think of microvilli as fingers increasing the absorption capabilities of your small intestine. When they get blunted, it's like they get chopped off. And what it said in the book is a lot of the enzymes are produced in those microvilli. So when they're blunted, your body can't make as much. So when I was younger, like, I was very lactose intolerant. If I had some milk, it would go right through me. And it's pretty cool. Like, as I'm getting older, I can actually tolerate more dairy now. So like, if I had like a spoonful of ice cream, it would be right through me. But now, like, if I get like higher fat ice cream, there's still going to be some lactose in it. I can actually have a bowl of ice cream and not have to run to the washroom right away. So it's cool how some of the stuff that's maybe a little bit theoretical has played into, if I could go in, I guess I could get a colonoscopy, but I don't want to do that. I have white coat syndrome. I don't want to go to the hospital and get that if I don't need to. But based on that, you would think in your head that my microvilli are now in a better shape than they were when I was a teenager, because they're able to produce lactase again, which is really cool. And you talk about chronological aging, but you can also talk about biological aging. Yeah. So if your gut's actually healthier now, you should be absorbing more nutrients, and you're actually, so like my energy levels are pretty darn good right now, better than they probably have ever been, which is cool that I'm 35, 36, getting up there and feeling better.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I find inflammation really, really, really hard to summarize to people and explain. Like, I think, so you just basically said how improving inflammation can benefit 10 different mechanisms all at once, right? So I think kind of when a lot of people hear the term inflammation, they think of it as like kind of like this unitary thing, like this singular thing where it's like you're only improving your inflammation, and they don't realize that, well, actually, if you can address inflammation, you're probably also going to be improving everything, like liver function, kidney function, gut health, brain health. Like, everything is affected by your levels of inflammation. So I just wanted to point that out, because I do find that's one of the things that's kind of difficult to get across to people, is explain the complexity of inflammation and how it has such a wide effect on literally your entire body. Like, inflammation's everything. So,
and it's really a big factor in your, like, global inflammation is coming from the gut. And just the connection between your gut and your brain, and how that affects everything that you do, how you feel. Emotion's a big thing too. Like, a lot of people are just grumpy.
Yeah, and
a
it
lot
could
of
be.
it has to do with just they're not
Yeah.
treating their body that well.
You see different numbers, but they say, like, some people say it's like up to 80% of serotonin is made in your gut. So if your gut's not functioning well,
Yep.
then you can't feel happy. You don't have that neurotransmitter that makes you feel happy and relaxed. And then I think serotonin, they talk about GABA being produced there.
It is different. Like, it's not always going, those neurotransmitters there aren't always going right to the gut, but it is very good point. Like, the complexity of the gut and how it's so important and how it does have such a massive effect on the brain is massive. And at the same time, we don't even really fully understand it all.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So that's, have you guys heard of the Braverman assessment?
Yep.
Yeah. So I read the book. I was read the, what's it called? Edge Effect. And I thought it was really interesting. And there's like a little questionnaire in there. So we actually do it with the students in class. And just tell them, like, hey, I'm not a psychologist. This is just for fun. But it's really cool seeing how going through this questionnaire, like how we all have different personality types. And that can come down to neurotransmitters. Yeah. I'm sure it doesn't play. It's all encompassing. Like, this is your neurotransmitter profile. So this is the way you are. But it's cool how you see, someone that doing the test, it says they're higher in GABA. And they like being organized. They have nice lists and they enjoy. And then someone like me, like, my acetylcholine's off the charts, but my GABA's comes in low. How my brain's all over the place. Yeah. I don't like having everything organized, and it's just really cool. But then you think about, if some of these neurotransmitters, you're not, like, they're influenced by inflammation and by gut health. Yeah. Then there's you can almost, like, I don't want to say it's exact, but you could start thinking, if I'm inflamed and my gut's off, then that's going to change the way I think, which is really a crazy topic.
Well, and even just I think ADHD is the perfect example, just because it's so quote unquote common these days. Is it really common? But anyways, I just bring that up because it's like, something like that, people think it's just automatic and you kind of just have to deal with it. So for instance, like, I just suck at concentration. Like, I have bad concentration. Well, no, like, your diet also has an immediate effect on that. Your lifestyle has an immediate effect on that. If you can't concentrate, it just means that more than likely your dopamine is low, and you can easily bump that up with exercise. Will increase that. Certain amino acids will provide the required building block to bump that up. I think you could go down the list. There's like 1,000 different examples that you could touch on like that. Like, if you're feeling more anxious than you'd like to, if you're feeling more stressed than you'd like to, like, all of those have different kind of quote unquote causes from varying levels of neurotransmitters, and you can affect that with your diet, with your lifestyle. And I think that's another thing maybe folks don't appreciate, is that you do have an influence on that. Everything you do has an influence on that.
Yeah. That makes you responsible for it, though.
That's a big, that's a big responsibility, right?
Yeah. So that's difficult, is to have somebody who isn't ready to be 100% accountable and responsible for how they feel, and just don't quite understand it the way that you do. Obviously you do, I do to a certain extent. It's like everything that you do from A to B, like all day long, how you sleep and everything has an effect on how you feel. Yeah. But those changes can be difficult for some people to recognize first. Yeah. It's easier just to, I'm not feeling very good today, so I'm just going to sit on the couch because I need to rest. Yeah. Which is a pretty common thing. I get that from my athletes sometimes too, especially in like the early stages where they're like, oh, I need a rest day today because I'm just feeling off. But they're failing to recognize this, like, to backtrack and realize when that kind of started. So inadequate fueling for workouts, inadequate sleep. They missed supplements. They went out drinking.
Had a big weekend,
something like that. And it's like, oh, well, I'm just going to take a rest instead. Instead of using it as like an education opportunity for themselves. But I mean, I guess that's what we're here for, is to help people with that. But
so you had some questions about like gym class too, right?
Oh,
I
I'm
know.
so curious about this.
Yeah, we got to sneak that in, definitely.
Yeah.
But before, I just want to say the one thing that you said, like you're saying that you enjoy experimenting, right, with your health, and and
Yeah,
Chad
not
does,
everyone
and
does.
I do, and that's something that some people don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where, like, if you want to minimize the amount of work, again, you find someone that has done the work that you can trust, which is really hard to do because there's so many people that are just smoke and mirrors. They want to make a quick buck off whatever and then move on.
Right.
But find someone that has been around for a while, read up a little bit, and then at least if you can find someone you trust, then listen to them. Because if not, you could be pulled 40 different ways, like you're saying, YouTube videos, Netflix videos.
Yeah.
So find someone that you can trust, and then follow what they're doing, and then tweak it for what you need to be doing individually. So like not everyone wants to be under 10% body fat, right?
Right.
But they just want to feel good, maybe playing with their grandkids, or be able to go out to Sunday morning hockey and play the whole time and be able to go to work on Monday.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of figuring out individually what you want, and then finding someone that's put the work in for you. So like guys like you that have went through the experiences, have done the research, have done the learning because you love it. Right. And then that's you find that person you can trust, and then that makes things a lot easier, right? But as you guys know, like in health and fitness, there a lot of people don't like that.
Right.
They don't like learning. They don't like experiencing things. They just want to, take the easy route and give a generic workout printed off a website and go on their phones when their clients are training and really don't care. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, like you see that in a lot of gyms, like maybe 20-30% of the trainers actually care. And they're the ones that they like learning. They like doing all that stuff for their clients. Mm-hmm. Where other people, they just want to go and show up and then leave, right?
Right. Yeah.
And smoke and mirror sales and then take off. Yeah. Which it's really crazy, right?
It is.
Yeah. And the unfortunate part is like they're in a position where they're probably the person that you're talking about, like they're trainers, and that this person purchases from them, thinking that this person's going to be the one
is going to be that person.
Trust. Yeah. And then unfortunately they don't. Yeah. Live up to that, which sucks.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that we can really do about that other than try to get better information out. But I think we talk about this a lot too, is like if you're looking for a new health professional to follow around, interview them and make sure that they're a good fit for you. Don't fall for the smoke and mirror stuff. Like dig in a little bit more.
Yeah.
And get second, third, fourth opinions on stuff.
Yeah. Why is your greatest tool? I think just ask why.
Yeah.
To everything. If they post something, why? Can you explain that? Give me the rationale, please.
Yeah.
If not, if they don't want to or they don't know how to, I think or they're not willing to. That's a pretty big giveaway, I think.
One,
Yeah.
Yeah, and just like the old, this one always used to eat me up. Like, go warm up on the elliptical. So you have your hour session, go warm up for 15 minutes, and then we'll go through your workout program and then cool down for 15 minutes on the elliptical. So you're left with a half an hour training session out of an hour.
Yeah, and
like that's, and then unfortunately the clients don't know any different, right? They just think that's the norm, which is just, you're paying $80 a training session for an hour, and you're getting half an hour of it, and that half an hour is maybe a generic workout and time on the phone, and then half an hour on elliptical, which is like, oh my goodness.
I saw that a lot. And then the trainer standing on the elliptical beside you watching the TV for 15 minutes, watching highlights.
At least they were out there.
Yeah.
I've seen go and hide for 15.
Yeah.
15 minutes is up.
Yeah. And then rock through the Fit Fix or whatever it's called.
So, This is kind of go back to like sitting on the couch. This is one of my favorite quotes. So the first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool.
That's a good one. Yeah.
That's great.
And I always mess up his last name, but Richard Feynman, smart guy, physics, just like incredible person, really. Great. And some people like you, it's hard to reflect on yourself and think about that. And it takes an honest person like to go, hey, I'm making excuses up for myself. And then like one of my things is I just call it the overthinking crutch, where, get up for a workout and then, I get up real early. I get up at like 4:20. So that's my kind of play on 4:20. Get up at 4:20. And then a lot of times I'll get up and I'll have my workout set up. But then all of a sudden the coffee's tasting good. I'm like, better tweak this. And then another thing is like, it's 5:30 now. I'll tweak a little bit. And then I get out there. I'm like, frick, I spent the whole time tweaking my workout.
Yeah.
And it's like this, I know that in my head. Like, I know that now. I have to catch myself.
Right.
I'm going to start, this coffee's tasting good. I have some alone time. My boys aren't up. And it's almost like I'm using this crutch of overthinking to delay my workout.
Right.
And I know that I do that.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like scaling things back and going, hey, you got to catch yourself.
And you still do that? You still find yourself doing
it? Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I love
I think that's important for people to hear.
I love coffee and I love having me time.
Yeah.
So next thing I'm reading a book and I'm drinking coffee. Like, oh man, what are you doing? So that's just a great quote. And then it does take a little bit of confidence to actually reflect on yourself and figure out, hey, I really could be doing a little bit better than this. But then again, if you're feeling down the dumps, you're feeling depressed, it's even that much harder to take that first step, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
I like that.
Cool.
School stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm so curious. So I think back to high school for your high school phys ed, right?
Yeah.
So I think back to high school phys ed for me, and I can remember what the topics were. So there was definitely a sports component where you learn different sports and like the rules of the sports and how to play, sportsmanship, all that stuff.
Yeah. We
had a small weight training. What would you call it? A term?
Yeah. On
weightlifting in the gym. And then we would always have the classic, like, anti-bullying, don't smoke, sex ed, health class, I guess. But for us, it was kind of set up in 3 different terms. So one would be sports, one would be in the weight training, one would be in the health class, and we weren't actually doing anything active at all.
Right.
And I'm just curious what it looks like now and what the curriculum is and how you teach. And then also, like, for you, being so passionate about health and fitness, if you can really jive with the current curriculum or if you tweak it a little bit, or like how you approach something that's, I'm assuming it's fairly templated, and how you fit in the stuff like that fun little test that you did with your students. About their neurotransmitters and stuff.
Yeah. So the way it works is that we have our curriculum documents, and they say like, this is what you should focus on.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's still, like, depending on what department you're in, there's a lot of freedom. As long as you're hitting these off, you can express the curriculum in the way that you want, which is really cool.
That's cool.
So like, we just had a meeting with a bunch of teachers, and everyone's a little bit different. And it was really cool. Like, we had a bunch of teachers sitting around and we're talking about assessment. And I like numbers. I'm a numbers guy. So I said, if I was in grade 12 biology, I would love to have everyone's numbers posted. Chet's got a 99, Jesse's got a 98, and Deon's got a 75. So I would like to see that and go, okay, I got to get better. I like black and white numbers. I like that for knowing that I'm not doing as well as I could be. For me, that's really simple. And like feedback that's not black and white, I really struggle with. I want it to be, this is where I am and this is where I'm going. But it was really interesting sitting in this meeting. Some of the other teachers are like, well, no, I don't want black and white numbers. I like getting feedback so that they can help me with where I need to be, with feedback directly where I'm struggling from. So it was really cool. Like, even though I've been teaching for a while, like, just sitting down with different teachers, and you forget that we start thinking about things from our perspective, and that there's so much, even something like the way you give feedback is so different. Yeah. So I do enjoy reading a lot. I've read a lot about, like, most of the gym classes I teach are male gym class, open gym class. So basically I've really enjoyed doing reading and what teenagers need. And I think back to myself in university or in high school and what I needed, but I always have to think about, like, it's not every high school student's you. So we think about growing up in Mitchell. We had a lot of fun. Like, it was like basically get through the week and then we'll time bomb on the weekend and we'll try to regroup on Monday. And that was basically the template for most of me and my friends.
Right.
And we made it through, and we threw things together and made it, but it wasn't optimal.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so thinking about high school and teaching health, I really want to think about like real everyday lessons. So there's a lot of really good books that I read, and then I try to put them into the lessons. So again, just like us in high school, usually like they've changed it a bit. So we'll go back to the units.
Yeah.
So in grade 9, you have 3, the way we've set up at our school, you have 3 8-day health units, and the rest you're in the gym or the weight room. So probably less time in health, but talking about more stuff well in the weight room or the gym, which is good, because a lot of people grade 9 is mandatory, but a lot of boys and girls that want to take phys ed, they want to be moving. They don't get a chance to be moving in other classes. So it's like trying to implement the health into the movement as well as in the classroom. So with that, 9 and 10, there's more health, and then grade 11 and 12, there's only 2 units. That's the way we set up at our school. And then from there, one of the cool things that has happened in phys ed is they've been able to start specializing classes. So PPL, that's like your healthy active living. That's your normal gym class that we usually think of when we're back in high school. So you have every once in a while I go to the weight room, playing lots of sports, and health class. So that's your basic template. But now they actually have fitness classes. So this semester I have a fitness class where we're in the weight room Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're in the classroom Tuesday, and then Thursday we either do yoga, stretching, kind of like a recovery day, or we are in the gym playing a sport. So
that's cool.
It's really awesome.
Really cool.
I don't want to get political, but what's happening is that if lines get cut back, those specialized courses get cut first. So your core courses, your phys ed grade 9, math, English, biology, chemistry, what am I missing? History, geography, like those main subjects. What's happening is they're going to get bigger in number. There's going to be more kids in them because class sizes are going to be going up if there isn't a change. But what happens is those other courses, those cool specialized courses that have been developed, will be the ones that get cut. So that's, like, for me, like, it's exactly what you're saying. When you were in high school, you're probably craving a fitness class.
Oh yeah.
Love the games, health, probably weren't keen on health, but you did it or whatever, but would love to be in the weight room more. So now I have that, the ability to teach that specialized course for the kids that just want to be in the weight room. And then there's another course that's our traditional high school phys ed course. And then they've actually went even further for some of the students that they like playing and they like activities, but they don't like your typical basketball, hockey, etc. They're actually doing like individual games. So where they go in and they're moving and they're learning new activities, but more on an individual basis. So like they're going on bowling trips and they're playing lawn darts and they're doing like frisbee and learning more smaller games for the kids that don't want to be doing the traditional sports all the time.
Yeah. That's
so
cool.
That's So we've seen this really nice umbrella come out to specialize towards what the students want.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, if things keep on changing, then those specialized courses will be dropped, which is, as a teacher, is really frustrating.
Yeah, for sure.
And at last, like, kind of getting into politics things, like I realize that we've overspent in the past in the province, but it's just, I think that if students first is having these specialty courses, and if they're not there.
Yeah, that's so valuable.
Yeah, because like imagine having a fitness class in high school.
Yeah.
Like, and like it's cool. Like, really nice group of boys right now in the fitness class period 1, and the one kid couldn't squat, and now we're 2 months in, and he's A to G back squats. He's like, "Did you see that?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Man, I couldn't do that before." And he's a goalie, and he's 95 pounds on the bar, but A to G, couldn't break parallel at the start, and doing, I don't know, it was 10 reps with 95 pounds.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And like, it's great for confidence.
Yeah.
And then also, like we were talking about before, it's almost like a holistic thing, right?
Yeah, it's so valuable.
Like all of a sudden you're out playing hockey now and you feel a little bit better yourself. And then you're in the hallways, maybe you feel a little better yourself. And
Well, you're going to be better to others too.
Yeah. If you're happy, it's a lot easier being a nice person.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a big part of it. Right?
Yeah. That's so cool. Because to me, it's like, well, how do you get a kid to value health and fitness? You show them that it helps them in other areas of life.
Yeah.
Because the weight room can be, I mean, I think we all like it, but not a lot of people will enjoy it.
I didn't really know how to go to the gym until I was like, to actually go into the gym and do a proper workout. I was probably 23.
Yeah.
Right. Where it's really cool. Like they're coming in, they're getting a credit to learn about how to be healthier.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, like what's better for these students, right?
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
Because he's making that connection. He's like, oh, I'm better at hockey.
Yeah.
I'm feeling stronger.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm feeling more confident in the hallways. Like I can
Pay
carry myself.
attention and math.
Yeah.
And science.
And first period of the day, like the reason I work out in the morning is because I'm clear after.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone, like some people like working out later in the day. If I work out at 7 p.m., I'm not going to sleep.
Right.
Like I'll be up all night. Yeah. That's one of the issues with jiu-jitsu right now is trying to sleep after jiu-jitsu. If I go back-to-back classes, 6 and 7, I get up at 4:30. Monday night I went and I did the no-gi at 7 and then the gi class at 6. And I went home. I saw 2:30 on the clock.
Oh man, that's close.
Yeah, and it's just like that's almost an all-nighter. And I like getting 8 hours of sleep at night, right? So
Tight.
And then I was saying this to a couple of the students in class. They're like, "Yeah, we knew you were a little grumpy." One of the students came in and we were in the weight room, and he sat down at my desk. I'm like, "Hey, get away from my stuff!" And then he's like, "Yeah, remember I came in. You said get away from my stuff." I thought that was pretty funny. Like, oh yeah, I was grumpy that morning.
You got me.
Yeah. So it's just and like I think being a teenager is getting harder and harder. Like you're just so connected all the time. Like social media, like nutrition's confusing. Like information's great, but
excess is stressful.
And the technologies went so crazy that we have all this information, but we haven't learned how to deal with it. And that's maybe back to your high school question again. One of the things I try to focus on is just how to be a good thinker.
Yeah.
Like try to block out that background noise, like all this other stuff, and focus on what you want to be.
Yeah.
Because that's really hard to do.